There's a question every traditionalist Catholic has been asking in recent days. A question that seemed destined to remain unanswered, to float in the silence of the Vatican antechambers. Who will have the courage to say out loud what is written in that document, the GS9 report of the Synod, with the clarity that the situation demands? The answer has arrived, and it came from one of the few bishops who still wears the purple as a battle, not as an ornament. And that answer has a precise name: revolt against God. By the end of this video, you will understand why Bishop Athanasius Schneider's words on the synodal report are not just a theological criticism, they are a diagnosis. And that diagnosis, pronounced by Astana to the entire world, could change the trajectory of the ecclesiastical debate, and who knows, given the spirit of the times, it could also cost Schneider his dismissal. Let's start with the facts. On May 12, 2026, Athanasius Schneider gave an interview to Diane Montagna, one of the most authoritative journalistic voices of international Catholic traditionalism. The subject, Document GS9, the report of Study Group number 9th of the Synod on Synodality, dedicated to the so-called non-heterosexual question within the Church. A document that just a few days ago had provoked a harsh response from American canonist Father Gerald Murray on EWTN, who called it horrific and a subversive attempt to destroy Catholic doctrine. Schneider went further, much further. This isn't the first time Schneider has addressed the synodal issue. In 2023, he openly criticized Fiducia Supplicans immediately after its publication, calling it contrary to the Church's 2,000-year tradition. In 2022, he co-signed a document with other bishops and theologians in which he warned against the direction of the synodal process. Each time, the institutional response had been silence. This time, the force of his words is proportional to the years of silence that preceded them. In the interview with Diane Montagna, the bishop used three expressions that are impossible to misunderstand. First statement: the GS9 document succumbed to the propaganda of a global sexual ideology. It didn't say the document was imprudent. It didn't say it was pastoral, with some excesses. He said propaganda, a precise technical word with an unequivocal meaning, the systematic dissemination of an ideological message through institutional channels. Second expression: the Holy See, through this document, is collaborating with lobbyists in a true revolt against God's creative work. This is the sentence that stopped the breath of the traditionalists who read it. This isn't a criticism of Vatican communication. It's a direct accusation. The Holy See collaborates with lobbyists in a revolt against the Creator. Third expression: Fiducia Supplicans, the document authorizing informal blessings for irregular couples, is a mockery of common sense. Three blows, three statements that, in the diplomatic universe of ecclesiastical language, amount to a cry. Here we need to understand exactly what's happening. The GS9 document is not a neutral academic text. It is the first official synodal document in the history of the Catholic Church to collect testimonies from people in non-heterosexual unions as a pastoral contribution. Not a theological analysis of the condition, but direct testimonies from those who live in those unions, presented as a starting point for ecclesial reflection. At the same time, the document mentions the organization Courage, the only apostolate approved by the Holy See based on the teaching of chastity, in such a distorted way as to make it appear to support positions contrary to its own mission. This is what Murray called subversive. This is what Schneider calls propaganda. So much for the facts. But there's a deeper question. Schneider didn't speak of an isolated document. He gave a historical name to the strategy that produced it: salami tactics, a Hungarian expression coined to describe the method of dismantling a solid opponent one thin slice at a time. According to Schneider, this tactic has been going on for 11 years, since the Synod on the Family in 2015. 2015, first pastoral openings on communion for divorced and remarried people. 2018, amoris laetitia, structural ambiguity in specific cases. 2023, fiducia supplicans, informal blessings for couples in irregular unions. 2026, GS9, the first testimonies from couples in an official synodal document. There is one element that traditionalist commentators immediately highlighted. Murray and Schneider did not coordinate. In the history of theology, this type of convergence has a name: Sensus fidelium, the sense of faith of God's people as it reacts to error. When the sensus fidelium speaks from two continents with the same words, the question that the ecclesial structure cannot ignore is only one: are they wrong or are they right? Here lies the paradox that no one wants to name. Each single step, taken in isolation, could be presented as prudent, pastoral, merciful. It's the sequence that reveals the direction. It's the trajectory that Schneider, and Murray before him, had the courage to explicitly name in front of millions of people. Reading Pascendi today, one feels like reading a document written for this precise historical moment. Pius X's words sound like a description of Schneider's salami tactics, written 119 years earlier. And here comes the uncomfortable question: where does Leo XIV, the new pope elected in the spring, fit into this scenario? The official response for now is silence. The Vatican has not responded to Murray's criticisms. It has not responded to Schneider's criticisms. And it is here that a question emerges that until a few years ago would have seemed unthinkable. In an ecclesiastical climate where priests, journalists, and even bishops are isolated or marginalized for much less, how far can Schneider go without consequences? Because when a bishop speaks openly of ideological propaganda, revolt against the Creator, and unequivocal heresy, the line between prophetic denunciation and direct clash with Rome becomes increasingly thin. The Church survived Arianism, when nearly all the bishops signed the heretical formula of Rimini in 1359. It survived the Western Schism. It survived modernism. It will survive this too, not because the hierarchy cannot yield, history shows it can, but because Christ's promise was not that the shepherds would never err. It was that the gates of hell would not prevail. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment, Amen. God bless you.